everybody. Sorry it's so late. On Friday, I just got done with my daughter's dance rehearsal, and um, I was just having a conversation with my amazing co-founder Bobby, and his light bulb finally went off, and he said, "Ann, Bobby, I know you're watching, and I love you. Um, it's not about the books." I said, "No, it's not." Um, and he's been spending a year and a half with me nonstop. So I get the disbelief about how bad this is when somebody who devotes his life with me and hearing me all the time finally has the light bulb moment. So the attack, I mean, this is why I tell people, do not bring a parent bill of rights to my state. Okay, ding, 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 number one. Okay, you don't want to listen to me about school choice? Okay, then you research 40 years of it, not your feelings, how you feel about it, before you make a stupid decision. And I'm going to be really, you guys thought that I've been mean before, I'm going to be really blunt in these 10 minutes. Because what do I do all day? This is case law. Case law. So that I can write something that people will read so that you can intellectually talk about your parental rights. Okay? Because they're coming for them. Around the state, parents have been told you can't opt your child out. States. I've talked to Montgomery County up in Maryland. All over this nation have been told that they can't opt their children out. So I don't want to hear one more time from anybody, I do not co-parent with the government. Because unless you're fighting like me, like unapologetic, unhinged, yeah, you do. If you're sending your children into government schools and you're talking about fluff and stuff as a conservative think tank special interest group, and you're not talking about it like this, yeah, you are. You are co-parenting with the government. I don't want to hear your slogan. You are. Everybody is. So I'm going to tell you guys real quick what I've been dissecting. If you can't talk about, if somebody says, because if you haven't heard the new narrative, okay, this happened in our school, Dominique Chatter is running for school board. And then I read an article called redwine.blue, I don't know. And they're like, what are parental rights? And because the new thing is, because our code is parents have the right to direct their, the new thing is, well, what about my rights? Right? Okay. So if you can't intellectually, if that actually Darvo strawmans you and you go, yeah, what about their rights? Don't they have rights to direct their child's education too? No, they don't. No, they don't. And here's why. It's called in loco parentis. Okay. It's called natural law, common law. These are things that you need to understand. Like you understand your gun rights. When they say they're coming for your guns, you know the law inside and out why they can't do that. If you don't, as a parent, as a grandparent, as an aunt or uncle, as somebody who is an American, because we are in Maoist China in the midst of it right now. Right now. And it's about to get really bad. So in a couple days, we have the whole state that's going to make a bunch of stupid decisions about how they feel they want the right to be. Not the people that are actually going to go in to save our children. How they feel, because the governor is who has failed our children, has endorsed them. And these are parents. So yes, I'm calling all of you out. Glenn Sturdivant fans, Tara Durant fans, anybody of the establishment. If you're a parent, shame on you. And when they come for you, don't come crying to me. You made your choice. Period. That's how I feel about this right now. Because what do I do all day? Case law. I'm not an attorney. I don't get paid to try and save this state's children, but I do it anyway. We do it anyway. So yeah, I'm fired up. Why? Because I read stuff like this. These are law articles, okay? Against parental rights. Okay? There's articles out there, okay? This one. Parents' rights or parents' wrongs The political weaponization of parents' rights to control public education. You'd think that that would be, well, let's read. Then you start reading it, and it's literally insanity. Okay. Against parental rights again. I can't. Okay, but this one right here. This is a Substack. This should tell you everything. This is by Jill Filipovic. Okay, look it up. Parental rights is code for child abuse. If you don't know about we talk about the UNESCO, UN all the time. I do. People look at me and they're like conspiracy theorists. Why do you think everything education based, from comprehensive sex ed to social emotional learning, is coming from who? The UN. Do you know what else the UN has done? The child rights, UN child rights. Look that up and read that. The children have rights over you, the parent. And if you fail, and this is where the whole homeschooling, so homeschool parents, you better put because you are not acclimating them to what the world is going to be, and you're going to be found criminally negligent. And if you think that because of the purple state, the red state of communism that we live in right now, is going to stop this, if you haven't figured it out by now, it's not stopping it. Okay? California just criminalized parents. There's states, if you think at this point, because we've been deliberately left out of the equation, we are the linchpin. Why do you think we've been so dumb to education for 40 years? Do you know what I've done? I've dug into what news media covered what in what states and what was not covered in Virginia. That's what I do all day long. So when I talk about, when I know what I'm talking about, I promise you I know what I'm talking about, okay? Parental rights is code for child abuse. Don't trust conservatives who pit children against adults. This is the stuff that's going out. So but it gets even better. And in researching, I found this. If you guys aren't aware of ERIC, this is FedEd's depository for what they deem important throughout presidential papers. Okay. This one is called Parental Rights, the Trojan Horse of the Religious Right Attack on Public Education. Do you know when this was put into the depository? 1996. 1996. So when I tell you that we don't have time to catch up, but the interesting part of this is this portion right here. The most visible organization in the effort is Of the People, OTP. This was in pushing parental rights. A relatively new single issue group based in Arlington, Virginia, founded in 1993, specifically promote the Parental Rights Amendment. They, along with ALEC, who we already covered before, the ALEC think tank. So look, Of the People, where are they now? Look, where's Of the People? They're a Virginia think tank in 1996 that was supposedly fighting this. And guess what they were pushing back then? Vouchers, school choice, with ALEC, who's now the driving force in workforce education. Okay? And people want to question me about, well, what's so wrong with the Koch brothers and the Cocktopus? Well, if you dig a little deeper than the first two Google things that popped up when you searched, and you actually read what I do and read the other side, because you can't just look for what you want to understand. You have to look for the truth, which is very deep. And that's what I do. And this is how bad it is that right now in the state of Virginia, the comprehensive sex ed's coming in. Did you see the recent thing from the Family Foundation, who knows it's coming in through SEL? Yes, I'm going to call you out because you know it's coming in. And they were like, oh, and the governor wrote Norfolk and said, oh, we only have abstinence only. They know, the governor, I promise you, knows that comprehensive sexuality education is coming in through social emotional learning. Okay? Family Foundation was also one of the groups back in the 80s that fought outcome based education. Where are they now? What happened between, because that was when this started. Touchy feely. We don't like the touchy feely. Yeah, I have the articles. They were against it. What happened between now and then? So these people know. These people know. And if you're butthurt because I'm calling out your fake organization that's going to end up destroying our children, sorry, I don't care. If I have to go down in history as being the one person that spoke truth for these children and called out every single one of these people that nobody else will, because they're not stupid. Craig DeSaya knows what the Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment is. Sat in a meeting with him and he was like, can you explain that to me one more time? Are you kidding me? You're vetting school board candidates and you don't know what the Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment is? Do you know how many school board members? So this is what I do. And when I had this conversation with Bobby, I was like, your light bulb finally went off. It is as bad as I say it is. And I don't know that because I feel this way. It's because I had to take my red pill. I had to swallow my pride and admit that what we're doing is wrong. So if you, and this is then after all the BS that you go through, what you then do is if you don't know how to talk about natural law and the Constitution, and argue it from the foundation of this nation, because that's what they're attacking, and that's what they've been attacking all along, and we've let it happen. So as the Constitution withers away into this like mythical unicorn, as I call it, if you are not going to stand up for your children, then you're going to watch America burn, because the two are going to burn together. And we have about this primary, I'm frightened to death. I'm more frightened for this primary on the 20th about getting the wrong right in, because the establishment can't look at their own kids and be like, you know what? I care about you more than politics. That's what I'm frightened. More than Trump, more than Biden, more than any election, more than anything. I'm more frightened about the wrong right getting in. Because if you think that they're going to go to anybody that's proud to say, I'm going to go to Washington, go to Richmond, to be Glenn Youngkin's conservative agenda person. Okay, first of all, that doesn't scream, I'm going to represent my constituents. Okay? I'm going to go represent a dictator is what that is. That's what that is. So if you can't argue parental rights, what are they? What does that mean? Because there's plenty of groups out there that are saying, what about my rights? I want my child to read pornography in schools. Then you can sit there and be like, well, yeah, that does make sense. It is codified that whose parental rights matter over who. Then you know what? If you can't argue that, then you either need to hand your children over to the government or figure out how you're going to argue that. And I'm finishing, all of this stuff is coming out in a Substack. And I'm going to lay it out for you. And if you're still questioning, because I fought Chesterfield County last year. We have 63,000 children to have opt-outs sent. Because, yeah, they're coming after opt-outs. That they're lying to you that you don't think the information they're collecting on your children matters enough to opt out. Okay? If I can force a county of 63,000 children to acknowledge federal law myself, yes, because it's based on the Constitution. It's based on the law. So if you can't argue your parental rights and you actually think a school can lock you out of a building and you can't get in to see your kids, and you're not willing to go to any cost to get in that building, you don't deserve your kids. Sorry if that hurts your butt. But if you're not willing to do the work, when CPS comes knocking at your door because you're a homeschooler, or you pull your kids out because you don't feel safe, or you decide that you're going to challenge a principal and CPS comes knocking at your door, because one of the most interesting part of this article from 1996, okay, was that public education and child welfare agencies and existing law demand further scrutiny in the legislation and the proponents of their motivations. It then goes on to say, parental rights initiatives would provide individuals with legal weapons to challenge public school curricula, and child abuse protection laws, and would jeopardize the ability of social service agencies to act effectively in child abuse cases. Anytime that you have CPS and education in the same sentence, attacking parents from 20 years ago, 30 years, almost 30 years ago, what I'm, guys, is that's how bad it is. Why do you think that they have social workers in school right now? What do you think that social workers are doing? And what it comes down to, my legislation, when you have the RPV passing out paperwork the day to all the groups, and none of my legislation made it to the news under education bills, or even to the RPV handout, they had all the school choice bills. They had everything. Everybody from Freitas, Avoli, I don't know, Reeves, Chase, Ranzone. The only one that they put in was McGuire's. They didn't even put Freitas's in, who had like 10 co-patrons. Okay? That stuff makes you think. Why would the Republican Party leave out? It's all codified Virginia law. So if you can't argue parental rights as a natural right, God given because it's from the Constitution of the United States, if you can't argue in loco parentis, something that everybody needs to understand, and why that needs to be removed from the Code of Virginia this session, because with parental rights, I've said this all along, comes responsibility. You can't say that you are going to control everything to do with our children, because that's what they're doing. They're saying that we are bad parents because we will not expose them to books. This article here, it already talks about the books, talks about the curriculum, talks about all of it. 25 years ago. That's how long this has been going on. So, I'm not going to read to you. So if you can't, the fundamental right of parents, if you can't argue that, a wonderful author is Melissa Moschella. She lays it out to you if you want to look up somebody to actually read. Natural Law and the Rights of Family. The Fundamental Case for Parental Rights. This one is great. Your children are government property. Biden, I don't know if y'all missed it last month, literally said that. Hillary Clinton, it takes a village. What do you think she was talking about? The same year that they passed the Safe Family Adoption Act, where they incentivized adopting children out in under a year to non-familial members. Child sex trafficking, all that stuff. Passive versus active parental consent. Student privacy in the digital age. Protection of People Rights Amendment. Guys, this is in loco parentis, guys, I'm telling you. I can't tell you, exploring the practice of in loco parentis in public schools. The teacher's place in the moral equation in loco parentis. It goes, this is what I do to understand. And this is what every parent, just like your guns, if they said they're coming for your guns, what would you do? Yeah, hell no. But when I tell you they're coming for your children, and do not think the government is going to save us. We have to save ourselves. We have to save our children. And if you can't look at your children in the morning and then look at the propaganda with the people that you associate with, and you're not willing to stand up and call out the names, because you might get ousted from your wine group. You might get ousted from your what? These are the souls of your children, the babies that you brought into this earth. If you cannot stand up for the babies that you either adopted, guardianship, or birthed into this world, and you actually think that these people have a right to your children, but you're not willing to take the time to figure out where it's coming from or how to fight it, then when they come for your children, Remember this. You chose which side that you were going to align with. You made the decision. Just like my Facebook, it says, you can never say that you did not know. You can look away, but you can never say that you did not know. And so let this be the most important now 20 minutes, because I can't ever stay on time. And I will continue to call out Heritage, Ty Turner, Americans for Prosperity. I will continue to call every Bryce Reeves, Tara Durant, Glenn Sturdivant, Glenn Youngkin, Jason Miyares, Winsome Sears, every single person that has failed our children, because some of you were still sitting around making excuses, waiting for them to do something. Their term's almost halfway over. People are like, oh, I heard that Miyares is getting ready. What is he going to do? He's got 2 years left. Nothing. They haven't done anything yet. So I probably got a drone flying over my house. Do I care? No. And you shouldn't either. Because if you think that a political party at this point in time is going to save these kids, you've lost your mind. You have literally lost your mind. Look at yourself in the mirror. What's more important? Political allegiance or our nation and our children? The choice is yours. So you can sit there and be like, God, school choice, it just sounds so great. They're going to give me $3,000 and keep my $18,000. But you know what? It's better than nothing. If that's all that you know, and you think Glenn Davis said that we're going to fix it next year. Tell me what legislation has ever been written horribly. Let's pass horrible legislation so that we can get a tiny fraction of the money that we pay. If that's all that you know. And then tell me go look and try and find a private school that has not taken federal funds, that's not captured, meaning pushing the same agenda. Find me, I don't know, in Central Virginia, more than 4. And then read the stuff coming out of UVA about homeschooling is child abuse, because you only homeschool children if you want to abuse them. That's the narrative. So if you don't get ahead of that, correct. I'm in that, private schools are no better. Amen. Because my daughter's private school, their website, whole child, whole this, whole that. So I've got a whole lot of deciding to do before the fall comes, and I've got a big meeting with them next week. But this is what it comes down to. This has been going on forever, as I've been saying. And people are still like, you know what? If you haven't figured out why there's a problem, go and look up Bryce Reeves, what he did. You know that one little liner that we all use? Oh, it's 204.1-1. Okay, look that up in the Virginia Code. And then you go to the bottom and you click the little links. And that takes you to the legislation way back in 2013, 2014. And then you hit history. And you look at how it was originally filed. Boop. And then you go to the amendments. Boop. And then you look at how it ended up. Okay. How it was originally filed had actual Supreme Court law that would have made sense. By the time they were done, because McClellan was involved in it, they accepted it with a provision using the case law they used in it was in vitro fertilization and eggs. And then you look at people who pass bills like Scott Wyatt and the Chesterfield County pre-K teachers that were allowed to not be reported to the police, to CPS instead, because what intended to be a decent bill, in order to get it to pass, they accepted the lunatic revisions of it, which left out physical attack with bodily harm. So here's the thing. The point of legislation, and this is to whoever wanted to comment about Marie Marches, okay? She's one of the examples. She had good intentions without knowing the overarching, okay? Glenn Davis and then everybody else, because Heritage wrote that, okay? Sorry, guys. They're not saviors. I'm not even going to get into the VEOA and middle resolution and that whole swamptopus. But if you're not questioning the neocon think tanks in this state yet, look at your children and say, sorry, I didn't want to get uncomfortable. I didn't want to lose my friends. Do you know how many people that I've lost? Good riddance. My children are safe. Good riddance. Yeah, Kim said, no, they are not. No, they are not. And unfortunately, problem is that there's a lot of people that are, this is when we talk about the oligarchy, okay, the elites. They've sold their soul for relevance. And so little groups like us that do this, we're demonized. Okay, I'm called a liberal. And this is to people at the Virginia Beach Tea Party that wanted to pop her head around and be like, I see you on Facebook and everybody hates you. Bitch, I know that. Do you think that bothers me? Okay, now you can pop your redheaded ass back around and shut your mouth. And go support another neocon that you can't even get elected. So, I don't care. I was built this way. We will not be the heroes of this story. Those of you watching this who have decided, God damn it, is that bad? And you're going to come up and you're going to stand up, you will be the heroes of this story. And I've said that before. I was built for this. I will log out of here, kiss my children, love them because I have kept them safe. And at the end of the day, when I meet my maker, God will say, you're good. That's who I report to. Not a party. Not a group. Is that we, the collective, because that's what they're teaching your children to be, have come to this conclusion that the collective Republican Party is somehow better than the loony left. Sorry, they're not. Because if all you know is that they're not fighting for conservative values, they want to change them. The new way for the Republicans, we have to have kitchen table values, and we have to meet the moderates in the middle. Well, where in the hell do the conservative values go if we have to meet the moderates in the middle? It's called a neocon, okay? Clinton did it. It's called the third way with Tony Blair. You want to get really dirty into it? Yeah, this connects to the unit. You want to find out what's really, go to the labor movement, the United Kingdom, Tony Blair, Bill Clinton. Who did Glenn Youngkin put on the Board of Education? Andrew Rotherham, who was Podesta and Clinton's education policy analyst. Why in the hell would he do that? Ask yourself. I've said it 100 times. I bet nobody's ever looked up Andrew Rotherham. You want to find out who Glenn Youngkin is? Look up Andrew, Rotherham, Andrew. Alan Siebert, out of little old Salem. You want to look up Alan Siebert Global. Salem, find out who Alan Siebert is. Yep. They sell our country and our children down the drain fiscally and emotionally. Absolutely. When you can find hundreds of articles out of this state that you didn't even know existed that talk about what I talk about. We have to is that the global, we are no longer the leading force in the global economy. And we have to use children to get back to that point. That's where we've been for 30 years plus. We are no longer the global superpower. We must use children to do that. You can even look it up and look up Sputnik, Cold War. So, I'm going to go. But if this is not your wake-up call, I don't know what will be. Because the 20th is I will be in Hampton at the GOP speaking. Bravo Hampton GOP for stepping up and having a set to invite me to come speak. First GOP. Okay? Not tea parties. Love my tea parties. But an actual GOP. I've reached out to, I can't even tell you how many people running for Tim Kaine's seat. For Tim Kaine's seat. Because if you're having parent rights conferences with Asra Nomani, Okay? You know what I'm talking about. And that it who then writes in USA Today that she hopes Glenn Youngkin run as the champion for parental rights runs for president. You better realign yourself. Like Paul Watt having Amy Gadara. And you're so mean. Paul Watt has done so many great things. I don't care. When you have the founder of Data Quality Campaign as the keynote speaker at your campaign launch, the second most funded Bill Gates company ever is our Secretary of Education. I don't care if I hurt your feelings. I do not care if I hurt your feelings. If you don't know who she is and you're inviting her to come speak, and I just told you, if you do not do the work and you still have her come speak, you've decided whether you're swamp swimming because you're no longer stupid. And no, I have not. I will send Chuck my way. I will talk to anybody. If they want to understand and save our children, send them my way. I have got all over the state people running board of supervisors, people running for school board that actually care, that are listening. Then I've got people that everybody's like, oh, well, they're great. And they're sitting there a county over, a county this way. And they were elected to be this great, conservative savior. And yet they keep saying that they want to understand social emotional learning and but they're not doing anything. Those are feckless. You're feckless. And I'm not leaving the you out. It's literally, you're feckless. Is that at this point, stupid, clueless, feckless, or corrupt? One of the options. Once you're no longer clueless anymore, you tell politicians like John McGuire, I told you, you know exactly what you're doing. This is what it is. Stop doing it. You do it anyway. You're feckless. You're corrupt. That's where we are. And if you can't look at that, especially in Chesterfield, and if I show you 800 pieces of evidence of what Glenn Sturdivant did when he was on the Richmond School Board, and you care this much, and you're just dead set that Amanda Chase is evil and she's got to, then you know what? When what happens next year, next session, then you know what? Do not come crying to me. I told you so. But here's the thing. I'm not going away. I don't care if I'm this in your box that you choose to watch and then share with your friends about what a lunatic I am, because at the end of the day, I've never been wrong. Except for voting for Glenn Youngkin. That was the only thing. Because I do the work, I do the research. And if you want to be like, well, I feel like school choice is a good thing. I don't feel that what you're saying is it. I don't care how you feel. Like I told the Board of Education, it's called the Bill of Rights, not the Bill of Feelings. Go and spend 4 months or even a month and research education policy in the state of Virginia, across the United States, and then across the globe for the past 40 years. And then come have a conversation with me. And then I'll talk to you about how you feel. But because you Googled one article that said the Koch brothers were great for libertarians, and shut up. Shut up. I don't care. I'm going to end it on that. But on a positive note, this Substack will be coming out to explain to you how. Because just because I write it doesn't mean you're going to be able to argue it. You need to be able, when somebody goes up to a school board meeting and says, I want porn in the libraries, what about my rights? If you can't go up behind that person and be like, here's the problem with that statement, moron. Okay? If you can't, I can. Yeah, somebody just said, F your feelings. Exactly. That's how I feel. I don't care how you feel. You know what? Because if you were to do that outside of the school, you would be a criminal. So if you want to give porn to your kids in school, this is the logic part of it, guys. If you want to give porn to your kids, you can get your kids taken from you. So the fact that you feel like you should have this available to your children, you're a criminal. Okay, criminal. Okay, criminal. And if you can't look at them and say that, because guess what? You better get over your political correct ass. You better get over it. Let go of it. You can't be politically correct these days if you haven't figured that out. You would literally walk around like this. If you have truth and love in your heart and nothing that comes out of your mouth is hateful, speak truth. There's not one piece of hate in my heart. Not at all. Even at this point, there's not one piece of hate in my heart. I do what I do not because I hate conservatives. Okay? I should. I do it because I want to educate parents to do better, to be better. Be better parents. Do work. Stop thinking the government is going to educate your children. Stop thinking that when they lock you out of a building, that they're doing something great for your children. Find your power. Kim, thank you. I just came from my daughter's rehearsal. I don't have a bra on, so. But find your power as a parent. Because if you're going to let the government use you and your children as a doormat, imagine the future that you're creating for your children. And then think about why you became a parent. What did it mean to you when you became a parent? Would you storm the beaches of Normandy for the freedom of America? No, that is so far gone. We wouldn't even be able to survive if that happened right now because of how people feel about this country. And then ask yourself, how did we get here? Because there is the time to rise up is now. Not next year. Not next week. We don't even have time to wait for elect another governor. And then do what? Elect Winsome Sears or Jason Miyares, who did what under this administration? Nothing. So we're going to continue to perpetuate the wheel of nothingness. Just like in the Senate, just like in the House. How dare you challenge an incumbent? Because they're swamp and they're trash. That's why. And that's why we need to support candidates fully who are funded by the people, who are going to vote for the people and listen to the people, not go to Richmond to back a governor's conservative agenda that is nothing that you think it is. So, I'm out of here. Substack coming. In loco parentis. Do your research, okay? Parental rights, Constitution, natural rights, family law, FERPA, PPRA. These are things I've said a million times. If you cannot devote the time to understand how to argue your constitutional God-protected rights as a parent, and not just to do willy-nilly whatever you want, and what that actually means, then when they come for your kids, you made the choice. I'm out of here. Good night, guys.